Playful Evolutions would like to present Sethikus Boza with Black Earth Productions. I've connected with people in the community here, and like all of a sudden there were a few meetups, and it was just like a bunch of people. There were doctors, nurses, doulas, teachers, ambulance technicians, like a bunch of professionals. And I got invited to the meeting, and it just felt so good to be around people that didn't necessarily look at things from an esoteric perspective, but that just knew intrinsically that what was happening is wrong. You know, these are people that are literally losing their jobs. So their whole lives are changing. And because it's so bad in Canada, like it's at the point where, you know, they've taken away, like even with my son plays soccer, like I can't go into the gym. I have to drop him off at the door because I don't have my vaccine passport.
That's fucking insane. Even in terms of religion, I was involved in Christendom for about 7 years, and have seen the seat of the dark Luciferians on the highest fucking levels that people could fucking imagine. These dark sorcerers wielding magics and hypnotizing stadiums, amounts of fucking people at one fucking time. Not just that, but closed meetings and behind fucking doors and all this, you know, really crazy shit that happen in their obsession with authority and submission, and do not question anything. You do what the fuck you are told. And if you go against, you know, certain mandates or protocol to what they're trying to implement, you're just fucking ostracized and made fucking example of. And I experienced all that as well as a part of my fucking journey. Of course, breaking away from everything and then coming to the point where I was literally backed into a corner by the fucking universe itself and forced into this position to do what I do, to teach what I teach. I had no other fucking choice. There was nothing else in the entire universe that was going to open up to me. And so I started off with the goal of just wanting to teach astrology, you know what I'm saying, but never could have imagined that things would have, you know, blossomed into what they are now. And with the expansion of the network and everybody else that I've hailed for interviews and people that have contacted me, it is growing exponentially, and we are about to launch something very, very powerful into the reality field that has not been here since what happened in terms of the cataclysms. Folks, the MAGI GRAIL Shaman hail the ancient wisdom councils, and I hail shamanic lineage in terms of my bloodline. And white dragon lineage is what attributes everything in terms of my personal path work, and not everybody out there is MAGI GRAIL Shaman. In fact, it's extremely rare. Everything that I'm teaching in terms of the mystery school all goes back to the teaching of the ancient wisdom councils, and is far, far different than anything else out there in our time, especially in terms of the procession and where things are going. It's very powerful. There's been thousands of people initiated worldwide.
I'm wondering if you can explain a little bit about some of the main tenets of the school, your school, and what you're offering and what it's all about in terms of teachings and healings and that sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Again, in terms of the white dragon lineage, my name Boza means keepers of the sacred tree. And I'm an individual that is here on earth to implement the true universal tree of life into the reality field again, as it once was. And a lot of people assume things to magic when it comes to different systems out there. And there are many, many different kinds of magics and systems and orders and practices and all this different kind of fucking shit. Many individuals out there hail Kabbalah in terms of what they would call the tree of life. But this is a far-fetched in terms of anything that I practice or working to implement. And in order to get to the level that I want to start teaching on, I'm going to be creating a membership page and really and finally announcing the actual magic order that we are going to implement in the earth. So things to the full rites initiation. This is all designed to lay the proper foundation for the adept, for those that actually seek initiation, and dives into the arts and sciences that reveal not only how things actually work, but the mechanics and systems of magic that are unique to the individual. A lot of people would assume that magic is something that is a general thing. Say you have a group or there's some kind of group teaching. That's not how this works. That is not how initiation actually works, and that's not how the ancients actually taught. They taught the adept one-on-one, the true masters that would be able to extract the gifting, would be able to extract the skills, would be able to reveal to the individual how to navigate their personal systems of magic, and also go through the process of the alchemical rites of initiation, which is a whole other fucking topic of conversation, on top of the teaching that needs to be applied to your actual existence to master your personal purpose for incarnation. But as far as the groundwork goes for further initiations that are going to come with the mystery school in the future, an initiation into the blue flame healing arts is absolutely necessary. And then of course the arts and sciences that get into revealing the mechanics of personal magics and navigation to master your existence and actually come into alignment with your destiny to know thyself. Go ahead.
So this is basically about like deepening the knowledge of self, going into the self and using different tools to get there. Like we used astrology and numerology and basically just, you know, your knowledge, your intuition, bringing me back into myself. And so what I did experience was that kind of like my energy field had just expanded out really far. And I was just picking up on tons of things. And I had like lost connection with my core. So by going into these systems and studying myself through the systems, through these ancient systems, it's like my energy field just pulled everything back in.
Right.
That was my experience of it. So these ancient systems are kind of lost. People don't use them anymore. It's sort of like, you know, there's a lot of...
They don't. Most people out there have no fucking idea what they actually are. They assume that they do. Even these secret societies, even the ones at the highest fucking level, man, they have no fucking idea. They cannot tap what our kind can. This is in my blood and bones, and is what I teach the individual. Again, how to extract themselves. And this isn't a carbon copy of a carbon copy of a carbon copy of Sethikus Boza. Not everybody is here to do what I do. Okay, who are you and what are you here to do? What is your magic? What are your skills? What are your gifts? What do you actually want to be experiencing? And there's a lot of people out there that are in really fucked up situations in life. I'm talking about really fucked up. It's not all peaches and cream out there. It's a fucking goddamn war. And if we're going to implement the birthright to which is revealed in terms of the mystery school, this is what it's all about.
What is the importance of ancestral healing? Why is it so important in order to get back into your kind of core essence, and how it liberates, you know, how it can liberate someone to move forward and actually do the work that they're here to do?
Okay. Well, most people in the world and in society, again, they don't have any clue who the fuck they are. We live in a soup of multiculturalism where individuals are assuming their identity in terms of a lot of things when it comes to subculture. There's all these different subcultures out there. And then on top of it, you got religion. On top of it, you have many different clubs and just a lot of different fucking group dynamics that are out there where we are literally taught that we're going to get our fucking identity by being part of the fucking herd, who we actually are. But all of that, especially in terms of what happened at the turn of the fucking century, take it back to 1914 when this goddamn fucking country was taken over. Okay, and this all goes back to banking and the fucking elites and all this crazy shit in terms of conspiracy. Who we are and ancestral healing is vital to the progression and the advancement and the evolution of mankind. Because if we don't get back to our actual roots, we're going to continue to be slaves. Do you understand? And it doesn't matter what people assume otherwise. You don't know who the fuck you are. You don't know your roots. You don't know your power. You don't know your ancestors. You don't know why you are the way that you are otherwise. And a lot of people, especially white people like us, Caucasians, would assume that we don't have any sort of ancient tradition. A lot of people take that back to Christianity, which was fucking forged at the Council of Nicaea 325 BC. That's where a lot of people get their ideas from in terms of who we are, okay, the ancestors. And growing up for me was very interesting. And my father, a lot of the lessons of my father have actually put me into the position that I am right now. Because he'd always be talking about the ancestors. He'd always be talking about these sort of traditions arbitrarily. You know, I'm a little kid. I don't really fucking understand what he's talking about, you know. But as I've gotten older, I've realized that there is a legacy in terms of that which is in my blood and bones. And it's the same legacy that any man worth his goddamn fucking salt in the reality field is going to figure out and fucking forge. And so things in terms of healing the ancestors, it's not just the things that we have dealt with in this life, so to speak. It's your parents. It's your parents' parents. It's your parents' parents' parents, so on and so forth, going back however many fucking generations. And there are things that can be passed on in the bloodline. In turn, if they're not fucking dealt with, you're going to be dealing with that shit on an unconscious level and not even fucking realize it. So during the process of initiation, especially the alchemical rites of initiation, this is the stuff that comes up for fucking review. Memories can come back to you. A lot of different experiences could happen. You could have supernatural shit go the fuck down as well, depending on lineage and rights or jurisdiction, depending on certain fucking entities or factions or whatever the fuck. And you got to go into that too and deal with it. And one of the main things that I learned was the actual science of the circle of the magician, which is very, very, very important in terms of protocol teaching to lay the proper foundation. But ancestral healing, this ancient trauma that we're all dealing with all across the board, has various waves of trajectory. And not everybody out there is necessarily going to have to burn or stack through what somebody else does. It depends on your bloodline. It depends on what is there. It depends on how passionate you actually are to know not only who you are, but what is revealed the ancestors via the blood codes. Going into that and extracting that and going into the memories and learning to remember not only who you are, but what you are connected to, take it back millions of fucking years. The human race, as far as I'm concerned, has always existed. Mm-hmm. There's never one point in time or even beyond time that we have not existed. Our beingness. I'm talking about who we are at the fucking core. When you actualized yourself into existence, can you remember the time you actualized yourself into existence? You've always.
Can you define that? Can you define what that means?
Some things that I'm explaining here are indefinable. They have to be experienced. When you actualize ignition, when you actualize yourself into existence, now you are here, wherever you are on any fucking timeline, past, present, and future. It's all happening simultaneously. Here on this timeline, there are two main timelines that are playing the fuck out right now. The Hopi prophecy states the AI timeline and the original timeline trajectory. Everything in context to what I focus on, where I'm taking things, which is back to the original teaching, attributes the original timeline trajectory. Otherwise, people are going to go the fucking AI. And I warned about 2020 6 years ago. White people don't know who the fuck they are in terms of this.
Yeah. So one of the things that you said was, why do you think the things you think, which I think ties into this really well, right? It's like most people don't question why they think the things they think.
It's going to end up being our responsibility to tap into this if we're going to fucking evolve. Otherwise, we'll continue with the overlay and the distortions and the false belief systems and all of these things that have been indoctrinated into the fucking mind and have a direct effect on how our thought and emotion operate. Like I explain in the initiation, the technology that we utilize, that we are meant to be mastering, instead of it being used against us. Okay. How many people out there can you say actually are the master of their thought and emotions? It's the very first assignment that I give. It's a lifelong fucking assignment, right? I'm learning how to master this every day myself, because you can get all up in your fucking head, gears are grinding, and you're dealing with the overlay. You're dealing with the distortions, whether in this life or attribute to the ancestors in context to healing. And if you don't go into that, yeah, it's going to be running your ass on an unconscious, subconscious level, and you don't even fucking know it.
It's like a huge layer, right? Because I mean,
how did that work for you when you really started to do that?
Right, just to let it all out freely without holding anything back.
No.
How my perceptions were, where they were coming from, right? And where it was like just these distortions from whatever stuff, you know, different traumas that we go through. And also where it was tied into my own solar spiral, right? The way that I'm hardwired. It's easier to just kind of feel things as they come up. So it's more about like giving us the tool to then be able to communicate effectively with people. So it like helps, you know, for relationships. Relationships is such an important aspect of community building and everything.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, so if those distortions are there, like relationships are impossible, right? Because you're constantly like just having all of this stuff.
How the fuck? Listen, okay, right. When it comes to relationships, how the fuck could you say you know someone and they don't even fucking know who the fuck they are? They couldn't even tell you who they are. They couldn't tell you why they think the way they think, or feel the way they feel, or react and respond to what they do, based upon disposition, right? Mm-hmm. That's the whole fucking factor when it comes to what I term the roots of the astral psychological tree. Yeah, things in terms of relationships. What is the relationship with yourself? Everything in terms is going to be a reflection in context to how you think and how you feel and what your reaction is. I mean, there's so many other factors that come into play to that first assignment. It's a lifelong assignment, like I'm talking about. And it's not just your disposition. That's how you're gauging things in terms of your perception. And one thing I need to tell people is this: power without perception is intrinsically fucking useless. And what the fuck are your perceptions based upon? Are they in alignment with truth or not? Right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There is a lot of gray in terms of speculation and theory and a lot of other things that people can explore. And I love to, have philosophical conversations and, really explore ideas and stuff like that. But there is an objective truth that cannot be fucking refuted. And your perception is either in alignment with it or it's fucking not. The light's either on or it's fucking off. Okay. In terms of what I'm getting at. And from there, when you position yourself to become the eternal students, you position yourself for the potential that all things are going to be revealed. But are you going to be willing to let go of ideas that are no longer serving your well-being? To that, in terms of things when it comes to the healing of the ancestors, they want to keep you in a trauma-based fucking mind control, lock the fuck down in terms of triangulation when it comes to mathematical reversals to the 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8. This is the Ouroboros that I speak about. Okay. Mm-hmm. The literal mathematical equation that is locking down individuals' trajectory to where they can't fucking even start to become a master of their thought and emotion. They can't even start to traverse and navigate correctly in terms of their perception. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Yeah, this stuff was just from our culture, like
right. Exactly. And it's overlaid in terms of that, in terms of culture, when it comes to distortions, overlays, nets, traps, snares, all of these different things that are put out there for that very fucking purpose. They do not teach us the things that I implement with the mystery school. Mm-hmm. And having applied them to my own existence and experiencing myself, the alignment of my true purpose, which is this position, This isn't the only thing I fucking do, by the way, everybody. I'm not just some guy on fucking YouTube, you know, just trying to fucking entertain people. I'm working my fucking ass off over here, doing mentorship, talking to people every day, speaking to people every day, teaching every single fucking goddamn day of my life with absolute passion and fury for what these arts and sciences reveal. And not just the arts and sciences, but getting into the research and study. Again, the Black Earth Library holds over 40,000 books of occult reference material. 40,000 books, everybody. You're not going to get that anywhere else on Earth. Okay.
Yeah, so that was another thing that I wanted to touch on, that I wanted to ask you about, because there's so much information out there. Like, I've been on a spiritual path my whole life, but there's a lot of the spiritual communities that I've tapped into, they're simply they're not going deep enough with the knowledge. So you come across a teacher or you come across a teaching and you're looking at it as a new piece of information, right? And you're getting like a fraction of what the basically the true teaching is, right? So then you move on with that, with just this little piece of the true teaching, and it's not enough to sustain over time, and then it kind of causes all of these other problems because there's no depth and there's no way to truly apply it. So going into the library, into the Black Earth Library, and reading, some of these ancient texts and stuff like that, instead of just going online and getting a little snippet here and there, has been really fulfilling. And it's really kind of grounded me. It's like, oh, now I can see like the tree out there in terms of like all these different spiritual communities that you can tap into, like where it's rooted, where their teachings are rooted in. Because everybody out there,
right, you start to see, exactly, you start to see where they're getting all of their knowledge in terms of trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
And again, without the proper fucking foundation, this is why there's so much goddamn confusion out there in the quote unquote spiritual community. You can throw religion in there as well, the New Age movement, organized occultism. I don't give a goddamn fucking fuck what it is. People don't know how to navigate this shit. Because if they did know how to navigate, things wouldn't be the way that they are. As fucked up as they are in the world, you think with all the knowledge at our fucking fingertips now, there has never been a point in time since what happened did like the time we are fucking in. But people don't know how to fucking think, man. They don't know how to think, Jessica. Mm-hmm. They have not been taught how to.
Yeah, and they've not been given access as well.
What to like, what to hate, what to fear, what the fuck ever. It's all these programs, right? When's the last time you had an original thought? When's the last time? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say.
It's an arbitrary question. It's what's the word? It's rhetorical. That's a rhetorical question. So
yeah,
I'm not asking you. Go ahead.
No, that's it. When you go back far enough, you realize it's all like, I like going into the etymology. The etymology has been also something that I dived into more specifically after getting involved with the Black Earth Productions. And, and you see that there is no, in a sense, there's no original thought, but it's all rooted somewhere. So until we can see where it's rooted, we can't really see what we're thinking clearly, because we're looking at like the leaf of the tree, right? So when you go back to the origins of all of these thoughts, right, that have evolved over millions of years, then you can see, what that true essence of that thought was and how far we've taken it and kind of where we're going with it. But if you lose that sense because you don't go far enough back, then, it's easy to think that we're all thinking novel thoughts, when truly we aren't. They're just progression.
And one of the main things I teach is you have to become the cause points in the reality field, not the infected upon, not the manipulated, not the coerced, but the actual fucking cause point where you wake up every day and you have a passion and purpose in terms of what you're implementing here. And you're not looking for it out there. You become it. You become everything that you are looking for out there. Stop looking outside yourself. That's the main thing. You got to go within and you got to cultivate that courage to ignite and then come into alignment, and thought, will, and action coming into alignment with that. It's the actions that we take that are ultimately going to determine reality. It doesn't matter really ultimately what you think or feel. You can go ahead and get up on your head all fucking day, but when you're in alignment and your perception is clear and you're on your fucking path and you're on your fucking orlog and you're on your trajectory, that's when you become the cause point. That is when you become powerful. That is when nothing can essentially stop you, nothing but you.
I wanted to ask you if you can just briefly describe like what Black Earth Productions, what Black Earth, sorry, is, what it means.
When it comes to the name Black Earth Productions, this all attributes Kemet. Kemet, take it back to Egypt, was the Black Land, where a lot of these arts and sciences were implemented. So the channel name of the platform, Black Earth Productions specifically attributes Kemet.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, one of the things that I shared your channel with a few people, and there's such a, you know, there's so much conditioning around what information should look like what proper knowledge and information should look like, and what sort of channels it should be coming through, right? So anything that I think you go into this a little bit with your teachings when you talk about inversions, right? So a lot of people are pushing away anything that seems to be dark, or, you know, even the name Black Earth, right? There's kind of like, ooh, that must be bad.
And in terms of projections and assumptions, that people want to think that, then they're fucking stupid and they don't belong in the fucking school anyway.
For sure. But there's definitely, I think this is what we're addressing as well, is, you know, people have been conditioned, really, you know, conditioned like big time to only move towards, you know, it's like moving towards what feels good, you know, versus like understanding that there's going to be that level of suffering that we have to go through once we start kind of coming into deeper knowledge.
Well, right. But that suffering is already taking place in terms, and if people want to project that upon myself or anything that I'm doing, you are highly mistaken in terms of what this actually represents. Okay. Black Earth Productions attributes Kemet. Take it back to the ancient arts and sciences that are even more ancient than Egypt themselves, even more ancient than Atlantis and Lemuria. I'm taking things back to the original teaching in terms of the ancient wisdom councils, the MAGI GRAIL Shaman themselves. This is my lineage. This is what I am here for.
Are the oldest scriptures that we have from Egypt from that time? Like, is that the oldest? Because from what I understand, like all of the teachings before that were transmitted verbally. And then you have Egypt as our reference now to the proper initiations. You know, things were actually written down, and we can kind of go back and see what was brought forward from previous to that through most of the teachings.
Things in terms of Egypt are not the oldest teachings out there. Not even fucking close.
In terms of the written scriptures.
I'm talking about anything in terms of culture and the uprise of civilization and all this kind of stuff. Egypt is not the oldest, but in terms of what we were taught in school, they couldn't even fucking tell us where the fuck Egypt came from. I remember clearly, and I was like, what? Like, that's bullshit. How could you not know? Well, we don't know, obviously, right? And then people want to take it back to the rise of civilization in terms of Mesopotamia when it comes to Sumeria. And people would assume that these are the most ancient cultures, that this is where the most ancient knowledge come from, and it's bullshit. There's knowledge in terms of records, the actual records of Amente themselves, that people that assume the office of Tahuti. Okay, and this all goes back to the betrayal of Thoth, the betrayal of the Thothian sect specifically. When they rose up against the wisdom councils, took all this knowledge, and then positioned themselves to be the fucking gods. This is where a lot of people would attribute what's been implemented, especially with the fucking New Age movement and organized occultism specifically, and then on a surface level, religion. Okay, the furthest back this goes, take it, 10,000 or 13,000 fucking years. Okay, whereas what has been implemented in terms of our mystery school, take it back 560 fucking million on to the galactic spiral creation. Again, there's 3 spirals of creation, right? Solar spiral, the galactic, and universal, right? Universal spiral, this is getting into the true universal tree of life. But people couldn't even tell you how to navigate the solar spiral of creation. And a lot of these people that have been promulgating what they have, especially in terms of the New Age movement, their obsession with fucking aliens and fucking light beings and ascended masters and all this different kind of fucking shit. These people do not realize the actual purpose of incarnation. They're all caught up in spiritual escapism, just the same fucking bullshit that's been implemented by religion, and they don't realize that the purpose of incarnation was to ascend. This is where we ascend. We ascend here in terms of our lives. This is where the fucking happens. It's not going to happen on the other side. And the fucking here comes the Octurians and their fucking spaceships going to come fucking save you. It ain't going to fucking happen like that. Or the angels, or the demons, or Jesus fucking Christ, or whatever the fuck people want to fucking assume. The great teachers, all of them, and I'll take it to Christianity here in a second, stated, the things that I do, you can do as well, and greater. Okay, who the fuck is doing that? Joel Osteen, T.D. Jakes, these motherfuckers. They're not teaching people the true knowledge. They're just writing in on a script that was forged via the Council of Nicaea. That's one thing. That's one thing right there in terms of knowledge and where it's being extracted from. And they have not accessed the actual records in terms of the keys of Amenti, where you are reading the actual books in terms of your codex and the things that are revealed to the individual. Now, as far as my personal records go, I've greatly dived into this in terms of healing the ancestors. This is why I know what I know, and have assumed the symbolism again, taking it back because I throw out the Mjolnir, and then all of a sudden everyone thinks I'm a goddamn fucking Nazi. Fuck you. I hate that fucking shit. I ain't down with that shit. You know what I'm saying? This is pure in its essence. And this is all about the ignition of your eternal spirit, the soul code, blood code essence, and finding your navigation on the 3 spirals of creation so that you can bring it back. Like you said, like you were saying, when you started experiencing this, it all started coming back to you, right? It all started coming in like this, and then boom, it was just like ignition that happened, correct? Mm-hmm. That's what you say, correct? Okay, good. Because that's what people should be experiencing. And then you get the memories, and then you get the dreams, and then you get the prompts, and then you're looking into this and that, and then you're able to navigate it and see it all for what the fuck it is. And then you start putting the pieces together and go, holy fucking shit, man. And so it unfolds. The path is unfolding forever in front of you, and there's no arrival point either. Like someday you're going to arrive to your ultimate potential. It's going to continue.
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of like a personal coming in like personally, but I found it interesting that, once you have that soul code ignition, right, where you're just like, you're in your essence, and you're looking at material, you're reading books, you're dabbling into these ancient teachings with your specific vision into things, tapping into your own intuition. I noticed that, like, no matter what vehicle, like what tradition whether I was looking at the tree of life, like the Kabbalah, or whether I was going into it through astrology, or whether I was going into it through like the Norse mythologies, it was bringing me back to the same point. Like I was getting the same information at the end. It was like, this is who you are. No matter which one I went into, it would bring me back to the same information. So, and I think it has a lot to do with mathematics, that like all of this language kind of spiraled out from these ancient systems, and they root in mathematics. So, you know, you can like dress them up in many flavors, but at the end of the day, it comes down to this very basic, very, you know, reliable structure to gain information about who we are. And then you can cross-reference. You could be like, well, I'll go in through this avenue and it's going to be the same information. If I go, you have to go deep enough. But if you actually do the work and do the research, you'll get the same information through these different systems. I found that very interesting, to kind of like a confirmation for myself, right, as well.
Right. And you're positioning yourself to be the eternal student. And when you do that, you position yourself potentially have all things revealed to you. Potentially all things. Well, nobody can know fucking everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's to say? And this path takes great courage. And if you have the courage and you have the fortitude to implement and become the cause point in the reality field to make this world a better place, of course you're going to come up against the ultimate fucking evil. The ultimate evil wants to devour our soul essence. We hear the stories, it's the battle of the demons and the angels, all that kind of shit. Where the fuck do you think they got these ideas from? And implemented only about 3,500 years ago, where everyone now has been conditioned, you're just arbitrarily, you know, becoming a piston in the fucking machine. Slowly losing your essence, slowly losing your fucking goddamn fucking life force. For what? For fucking what? Most people, they can't stand what the fuck they do out there. Why? Because they're not in alignment. They were never taught how to lay the proper foundation to even come into that. Children from second grade onwards should be learning their astral psychology. If they did and they actually learn how to navigate, our world would be a completely different place. And here, in terms of hyperdimensional warfare, you have to recognize what your true power is in terms, because nothing can stand in the way of someone that knows thyself. Because if you know thyself, you will know the universe, you will know the gods, you will know the ancestors, and you will have established that core connection to the higher force of the Jedi itself. And nothing in the goddamn fucking universe can stand in the way of that. It just flees, or it gnashes its fucking teeth at best, or threatens you, or talks shit, or wants to tear you the fuck down, and all this malignant, narcissistic, fucking sociopathic fucking bullshit that's truly fucking evil. I'm not talking about people projecting and having a bad day. That's one thing, especially if you're holding yourself accountable. Like, so, you know, we all have a bad day, and every single one of us project. I project as well. But I'm not in the business of fucking cornering someone to fucking terrorize them. That is fucking bullshit. And that is a lot of what happens in terms of what these spirits can do. They can hone in and they create the energy of contention between people. And then it's the tit for tat, the blame shifting and the gaslighting and the finger pointing and all that kind of stuff. And nobody's taking account of how they are being, or how they're opened up the fucking goddamn back door to this fucking shit. In terms of hyperdimensional warfare, this is why healing is so important, because when it comes to the actual front lines, okay, people need to understand the nature of hyperdimensional warfare and how it actually operates. You got no business on the front fucking lines if you're wounded, okay? An example that I give, imagine two standing armies on a field. In terms of the opposition, wherever anyone's viewing from, in terms of their own fucking life, out walks a character. Out walks a figure from the crowd of the army before you. Stands there, waves his hand over the fucking sky, and then steps back in. Right? All of a sudden, things in terms of what's happening on your end of the equation, everyone around you starts to turn and tear one another to fucking pieces. Now, what do you think happens? This army over here, they didn't have to do jack shit. They just had to watch as everyone, in terms of their opposition, turned and tore one another to pieces. And this is what they hone in on in terms, and this is why healing is so important. Take it back to the healing of the ancestors. They are going to hone in on your trauma. They're going to hone in on your woundedness. They're going to hone in on your insecurities. They're going to hone in on your greatest fucking fears and amplify the shit out of them and bring them into waking consciousness, throw you into a triangulated fucking feedback loop with it, and drive you fucking mad. And in terms of projection, you have to come to understand this, especially when it comes to this war on consciousness. You are your own worst enemy. And if you cannot slay the inner tyrants, it's going to forever project itself into the reality field, which gives the dark ones their position arbitrarily. And they fucking know it. They know it. And this is what they play in terms of their dark psychology and all this fucking bullshit on mankind, taking these arts and sciences, Jessica, and using them against us on a daily fucking basis. This is why they're so fucking important to know, because you're not going to know how things work otherwise. When you come to a certain place of healing, though, and I'm talking about for real, like real healing, not like you're feeling good one day and you're flexing back and forth and it's the same fucking issues that you had 7 fucking years ago. No, I'm talking about when you really come into a place of healing, you will eventually reach a point to where they cannot fucking touch you. And that's where you become more terrifying than them. When this is our birthright, this is the purpose of incarnation, was to be a partaker of the biospiritual regenesis. Why? Why even entertain that idea or co-sign or even identify with your woundedness or your trauma? I want to be able to relate to people on a higher level. Okay, who are you? Why do you think the way you think? Why do you feel the way you feel? Why do you react and respond the way that you do? You even know? Would you like to know? So getting into these things prepares the individual for a potential position on the front fucking lines. But is everyone meant for the front lines? No. They need to go through the rites of initiation, especially the first stage of the alchemical rites in terms of the blackening, and go into healing and go into that time where you gestate and just move through everything that you need to. And also coming to learn the value of ritual catharsis. And there's a major difference between chaos and catharsis. This is something I'm going to be putting out. I'm working on a dissertation right now. I actually started working on it today. And this is something I'm going to be getting into, the difference between the two. And the importance of ritual catharsis in terms of our actual healing and empowerment and really igniting from within the core, and then you're stepping up and then you're doing some really kick-ass shit in the fucking world. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people out there are depressed. They're fucking spiraling down into a fucking void of guilt and shame and just a lot of other things that are completely disempowering them in their fucking lives. And to watch. And to what? Is this the potential of mankind? You know, and then throw it out to addiction and escapism, and put it off on a god. That's not what's happening here. That's not what we are doing here whatsoever. So when it comes to healing, hyperdimensional warfare, you're completely fucked unless you are healed on a certain level. And people have no business doing magic on the level. Say you come to a point and you start to experience interface with spirits, with angels, with demons, with aliens, or whatever they want. Unless you realize your own sovereignty to the fact that you have your own eternal spirit to implement and ignite here, potentially access grid works of consciousness that are so fucking far beyond, then wouldn't you want to know how to actually do that? The church doesn't teach that. Organized occultism doesn't teach that. Where are the schools that actually teach us not only to discover who we are, but to ignite and integrate our own eternal spirit? This is what they are trying to collect in terms of the treasure of souls. And the question came up, do we have a soul? Or are we just soulless fucking husks to be ridden in upon? Or are we just soulless husks to be ridden upon by these disembodied incarnates that, first of all, do not even have the balls or sand to incarnate and do what we do here as humans? To be human means that you are at the spearhead of evolution. far as the collective goes, the world is an operation as it's been. It's going to continue to be that way. As far as people doing the work that you're doing or I'm doing or other people that are on the fucking level, I don't know. I don't know who else out there is actually doing it. I know a lot of the students in terms of the mystery school that have been initiated are doing it. But as far as your neighbor, person down the road, or the people at the grocery store or wherever the fuck, you never really know what's going on with anyone unless you have the law of correspondence there to reveal it. There's a lot of assumptions. Are we all going to go into a hive mind and the AI? Well, fuck. I mean, as far as the collective goes, they're definitely railing for it. A lot of people out there, man.
Oh yeah.
The collective is more to do with a hive mind. And when you break away from that, when you break away from all of the little umbrellas that can manifest in that fashion as well, you're left unto yourself. And then you go, okay, am I connected? Am I not connected? To the collective. I think it's good that people get out and connect authentically and genuinely, having healthy boundaries, not betraying yourself, not betraying the integrity of your own fucking existence, compromising, for other people to please them and to placate and all this different kind of fucking shit. That just never worked for me personally. But having a sense of community and support, I think, is very fucking important. Whether you got one or two people that you're really close to and that you can trust, that's important. I mean, we didn't just incarnate to live on islands unto ourselves. And I think that's a lot of what was actually implemented in 2020 with the lockdown mandates and all that kind of fucking shit. It threw people into isolation, and the ones that actually took the opportunity to go within and do all this stuff, they have woken the fuck up. I think a lot more people are waking up in the face of what the fuck is going on. Many in the world are at the first veil. I came out with the segment Labyrinth of the Nine Veils Part 1, where I sort of get into this, right? And many people out there are at the first veil. The highest level of the first veil in terms of domination and control and these manipulations and inversions all go back to the Dark Priest class, obviously. And then from there, you got government, you got the royals, you got the corporations, you got the banks, you got the, economy and all that different kind of stuff that's, trickling down in terms of the collective, right? The real question I want to ask people in context to your question is, what is the collective consciousness based upon, right? Because there's so many different grid works of consciousness that have been laced out in terms of the reality field. So when it comes to the collective mesh of that, it's a cauldron of fucking chaos, as far as I'm concerned. And we cannot navigate correctly in terms of our trajectory through these corridors unless we do take time and come to know what our trajectory actually is. And then who you are and what your position is in terms of the collective, and you're not caught in that fucking hive mind communist fucking bullshit. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Definitely, yeah. I think that the collective right now is being faced, like you said, with this whole AI hive mind, right? And a lot of people are tapping into that and then actually removing themselves from true community, right? And it is like a mimic. It's like a mimicry. It's like it's a false way of connecting, because you have the natural grid and then you have the artificial grid. So connecting through the natural grid, connecting through the natural grid, so this is what I'm trying to figure out, because I find that technology does enhance connectivity on all sorts of levels, right? Yep. So the being stimulated by everybody's thoughts all the time going on social media and, and so on and so forth, does kind of like poke at the energy field and then open you up to these expanded states of awareness, and then feeling more and being connected with the people that you're in contact with more through social media, through AI. But there's a place where it kind of, it's still a mimicry, so it still keeps people sort of locked up in their homes and not actually communicating face to face, not actually getting out there and communicating in their community, building in their community. And that's something that I've had to face here, living where I live. It's been easier to connect with people online, but after 2020, I really spent a lot more time connecting with people in my community here, and doing that work. It's almost like I feel less like the need to connect on an etheric level, because I'm actually connecting more on the real.
Right.
So there's been like a balancing that's taken place with that.
Right. And that's the key right there. It's all about balance. Things in terms of social media and doing things like this, we are connecting, obviously, at a distance, not like, we can all just come together because we don't all live in the same fucking area. And again, this is what I mean in terms of becoming the cause point in the reality field where you are, and going out into the community and letting people know, doing some kick-ass shit and potentially bringing this together. But that can be very difficult, especially in terms of this field, because a lot of people don't give a shit about that. But to have an actual place, to meet up and get support, that's the idea. That's really what Black Earth Productions, things in terms of the mystery school, and even things in terms of my templating, is a part of what I'm also supposed to fucking do. I mean, I would bring it together yesterday if I could. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But we're all fucking spread the fuck out. So you're gonna come up against a lot of contrast in terms of the collective with people out there that don't, first of all, give a fuck about any of this kind of shit. Second of all, they're going to think you're fucking insane, especially when you start exposing, the darkness and the evil and government and corporations and, the GMOs and the chemtrails and shit like that. And so that's all it takes, that, the inspiration and, be, courageous and let people know certain things. And then, okay, what are we going to do when we actually come together? You doing interviews and me bringing people onto my platform as well. What is the ultimate fucking purpose for it? I think it is to create that sense of community, because you can't have a true sense of community unless you feel connected to the people that you are in communion with. And I think a lot of people out there that are waking up, they say unto themselves, okay, where's my tribe? Where's my people? Where are the people that are going where I'm fucking going? Because again, like I've stated in other segments, if the people around you aren't evolving with you, eventually there's going to be a repel in terms of cosmic law. It's inevitably going to happen. This is why it happens. You know what I'm saying? So if we're going to continue to evolve, then I think one of the key factors, especially in terms of communication, is meeting people where they're at. So I can't just drop in with high-level metaphysical bombs on the average individual. You know what I'm saying? You have to meet people where they're at, and you got to be able to gauge that. You got to be able to discern that. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you need to do that anyway. Like just be fucking cool. Just be a good human in the world. And a lot of people are superficial on the level until you really get to know them, and it takes time to get to know people. And without trust, without rapport, without accountability, then community is completely fucked. And I think a lot of people out there are isolated. The older that we get, especially our parents' generation and their parents' generation, they're all fucking isolated, man. They don't have that sense of community that maybe the way that it was growing up for me. And all the kids are out, playing in the yard or, in the streets and stuff like that. Where are they now? They're behind the fucking goddamn screen. Mm-hmm. They're playing the video on the fucking computer, all this different kind of stuff. And so this technology, in turn, can be used for the right reasons, but we cannot lose our sense of self and we cannot lose our sense of actual connection in community in the fucking world. Otherwise, that's going to be another part of us getting sucked into the fucking AI. Motherfucker spent $2 million fucking dollars to buy land in the fucking meta, so that he could be the fucking god or whatever. This is how stupid it's becoming. It's going to become important to take time and step away from the technology and start to tap back into the true technology, your connection to nature, the universe, other people, community, tribe, all this different kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be very important. But who are you in terms of that? Are you part of this hive mind? Say you go to the church potluck and you know, we're all Christians, but we don't even know who the fuck we are. Right? Well, I'm a Christian. I'm blah, 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 you know, whatever. No, that's not what I mean. When you become good unto yourself, then you can go back out and you're not affected by what's happening in terms of the collective. Does that make sense? So you get swept up in it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we're all going to go fucking, you know, riot on Capitol Hill and everyone shows up, but nothing actually fucking changes because we're not actually focused on creating what we actually want to be experiencing. We're just slowly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot in there, but I've connected with people in the community here, and like all of a sudden there was like there were a few meetups, and it was just like a bunch of people. There were doctors, nurses, doulas, teachers, ambulance technicians, like a bunch of professionals. And I got invited to the meeting, and it just felt so good to be around people that didn't necessarily look at things from an esoteric perspective, but that just knew intrinsically that what was happening is wrong. Right. And that they themselves did not want to comply with everything going on. And they were losing their jobs. Like one of the women moved, and, you know, these are people that are literally losing their jobs. So their whole lives are changing. And because it's so bad in Canada, like it's at the point where, you know, they've taken away, like even with my son plays soccer, like I can't go into the gym. I have to drop him off at the door because I don't have my vaccine passport.
That's fucking insane, man.
I can't go to the, you know, the restaurant. You can walk in, pick up, but you can't actually sit down. So there's all these weird things now happening with the divide, where like, it's almost like the way I see it is almost like the way that the indigenous were assimilated. So it's like either you're going to assimilate into this AI program, right? Or we're going to corner you so that you have nowhere else to go. And we're going to give you this little piece of land and you could just stay there. And then basically, you know, that you can't live in that type of environment where you don't have freedom to move around. You just become more and more disconnected with everybody else, with society. And then slowly, you know, these people weren't able to survive, and they ended up becoming alcoholics, drug addicts, and stuff like that. So that's basically what they're doing, is they're, you know, it's an assimilation, and it's a genocide. It's an assimilation, and everybody that's not going with it, they just have less and less and less options. And the people that are going with it, they're still so hypnotized by the mainstream, by the narrative, that they can't see it. So they still really believe that, you know, the ones that aren't being vaccinated are the problems. And so many people at that meeting, there were way more people that knew of someone who had died or who had major side effects from the vaccine versus any virus. So, and I keep on asking people to ask the question, because that's the main thing. Once people start realizing like how many people they know, they're just not associating it. It's like, oh yeah, this one passed away from a heart attack, this one died. And now they put out the campaign to vax the kids.
Right. I'm sorry, but I'm going to go direct, especially in terms of people knew what was being put in the needlecraft. It is, as I've said, I have the proof, the hard science, and also verified by Carrie Madej, who saw the old ones under a goddamn fucking microscope. People need to know the fucking truth. And what graphene oxide does, lacing itself throughout the nervous system to prime your prima materia for invasion.
Well,
They're
yeah,
just being primed.
they've already been doing it with artificial foods and stuff like that for years, right?
Weakening the premium material. Okay. I even have people in my family that fucking ended up taking it after saying that they knew the fucking difference, and then they fell under the pressure, or people that aren't hearing, or they're not allowed to do certain fucking things. This is fucking communism, man. This is fascist, socialist, communist fucking bullshit. This is America. This is fucking Canada. This is our fucking world. This is our land. This is our lives, and we're just gonna fucking bow and kowtow to whatever fucking mandates, and then go with it because your fucking neighbor doesn't fucking get it. Fuck that shit. Make it be controversial. Like, we're all so afraid. Look, you're either gonna fall into the fucking hive mind, or you're gonna fucking break away. Especially now, because the split has happened. And all of it, every single fucking bit of it. Nothing in the mainstream is fucking true. Can't trust it.
No, for sure. It's all for show, and it's 80% of it is funded by the government, and then 80% of the government is funded by the corporations. That's what I tell people. But a lot of the people here in the community are really good people. They're really good people. And, it's like, I just repeat in my mind, like, if only they knew, right, they would not be acting and making the same decisions that they're making. And they're in their own like reality bubble. So, business owners, really hard workers, right? They wake up in the morning, they go, they work all day. Their mind is so preoccupied, got to do this, that, supporting the community. They're there with businesses supporting the community. And then they go home, they're completely tired. They've been working like 12 hours, and then they just, have a meal, put on a show, and then go to bed, and then it starts over again.
That's the cycle. That's the cycle that they're caught in.
They're caught in, but they're also, it's really hard to get out of that, because if they step back from this awesome service that they're giving to the community for just a little, then things start to fall apart. So they're in this kind of
that's not really the issue, as far as I'm concerned. The different offices and positions that people have in the world, you got the baker, you got the doctor, you got the mechanic. All of that is fine. All of that is an amazing thing. That's what makes our world fucking amazing. All the things that we can do, mastering the physical existence. Again, you got to remember the 4 areas that we are working to master. First, the physical vessel, right? It's the emotional and mental capacity, in terms of the tapping the gates of true intelligence, and wielding magic correctly, right? The 4th area is the temporal existence. Roof over your head, clothes on your back, food in your stomach. All of this is a part of reality, and we can't just arbitrarily dismiss that and just burn it all the fuck down. No. What we need to burn down is the state of mind that keeps us fucking enslaved to fear. And go to your job, and go do your work. Get passionate about what you do in the world. All of these things are very, very important. It's what keeps things going. Right? But what is the state of mind and consciousness of individuals in these places? Right? There's a lot of other factors. There's a lot of factors that play into that, of course. But I'm not saying that people should engage in terms of fighting this. It's a matter of non-consent. The real virus that we're dealing with is a timeline virus, locking the reality field down in terms of mathematical reversals to codex that they are going to amplify in terms of not only what's being implemented with the vaccine, but whatever programming and overlays and distortions of whatever fucking shit people haven't fucking dealt with. That's where they want to keep you. That's where they want to keep you in fear, and they want everyone to feel small, and again, not worthy of the birthright, or holding the idea that you can't actually do something powerful to be the cause point to change any of this. Truth is always going to go through 3 phases in terms of anything. First, it's rejected, right?
Denied.
It's rejected.
Yeah.
Off the cuff. The second phase it's going to go through is that it's going to be violently opposed. Violently opposed. The third phase, the truth implements itself into the reality is when it becomes self-evident. And I think all three types of trajectories in terms of truth is happening with people. This is what I went through. I went through my phases of cognitive dissonance and thinking that I had completely lost my fucking mind. There's no way that any of this shit that is being revealed to me can be actually fucking real, right? And I went through that violent cathartic fucking process too of transforming my consciousness and pulling it into alignment to that point where now it becomes self-evident. Now I fucking know, and it's not like speculation. And I think that the dark ones, as far as I'm concerned, shot themselves in the fucking head in terms of this, because a lot more people are waking up. Like you said, the baker, the doctor, you know, you're all meeting up and they see that now something is fucking wrong. That's your opportunity. That's your opportunity right there to not blast them with all this like high level esoteric knowledge, you know, metaphysical bombs. But again, like I've stated, humanity is at the first veil. A lot of us that have been doing the work up until this point, we have pierced the fourth veil. Okay. So all of these veils having been pierced, there is proper knowledge and wisdom proving the trajectory of navigation, so that a lot of people out there are they're not gonna have to take on the shit that I have, or maybe somebody else has, in terms of hyperdimensional warfare and a lot of other stuff. And we're gonna become more powerful in terms and bring this together, have community. And it doesn't matter what people don't know. The real question should be is, would they like to know? Mm-hmm. Wouldn't you like to know what's really fucking going on? Like, okay, what is the needle craft? What is actually going on with that? And you don't gotta, like, you know, blast them or make them feel fucking stupid because they don't know what you know. That's one of the worst things you can do. You know, is look down your long nose at someone because they don't fucking know what you know. That's bullshit. No, you gotta, again, meet people where they're at, meet them where they're at, gauge them, and then see what you can draw, and then just be their fucking friend. You know what I'm saying? And that's going to become very important, especially in terms of what's unfolding. So, yeah, I agree with, you know, your bringing people together. That's going to be the next phases of what really starts to happen going into the Phoenix cycles. I'm talking about the Phoenix cycles on my end for quite a while now. This point, though, with what hit in 2020 was a massive blackening in terms of the collective. When I get into the alchemical rites of initiation. Now, what can you say attributes the alchemical rites of initiation, since, you know, you've been on this for a while now? What could you say to that in terms of what you see happening with the collective versus, you know, certain individuals, or maybe even yourself? Like, I'm just interested in terms of conversation.
Well, for me personally, it was like 2012, and then like the blackening, I feel like I've just finished that phase. A major cycle. It was like mini cycles, right, within that major cycle, but that was a major cycle. And then on the level of the collective, I feel like they're just starting to tap into it. Like the shadows are just poking out, and they're like, oh, you know, like starting to become aware of how their shadows are projecting out into the reality. Yeah. But it's, I mean, I think each demographic, each geographical area is really different. So where you are, for example, versus like someone in Austria versus someone in France, like it's all so different. So on a global level, you know, I think that there's a lot more people that have already gone through the blackening than people think. I don't know what that percentage is.
I know I did. I know I fucking went through it, and I've been doing this shit for a really, really, really long time. So in terms of the collective, yeah, a lot of people definitely fucking went through it.
Yeah. So I think
coming through, you know what I'm saying? So it's layer upon layer upon layer in terms of, you know, what you're burning, and you stack and burn that shit in the fucking athanol. right? And it's pain. It's like, fuck, like, yeah, I don't want to be dealing with this stuff, but it had to happen. It had to fucking happen. And then all the poison rising to the surface to reveal itself. What did they fucking do? Right?
Yeah.
Because they know that they're losing their goddamn fucking power here. And it's like I've said, they don't have fucking jurisdiction. They don't have jurisdiction. You don't know who the fuck you're talking to. When people, when it comes to me and what I'm doing on my end, and people in network and people I'm in connection with and communicating with, this is real. And the rights are real. And the healing is real. So that's beautiful that you say that you've come to this point now where you feel like you traverse the shadowlands, so to speak, and now do you start to feel that phoenix energy coming? Is that what you're getting at here?
Well, I had to go through like a lot of healing too, right? And it just took so long, like for it to really start fermenting, right? So like just recently doing healing on, I know I'm not going to go into the details, but there was like I couldn't get to it, and when you're in the blackening, it's like constantly dealing with what's being projected versus being able to go in and rip out that thing. So I was finally able to do that, which was huge. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But yeah, I think that a lot of people they're just starting the blackening, right? And it's those people that are holding, it's those people that are like us, that are actually holding the frame of the institutions alive right now, that are just tapping into it. Because if they were going through the blackening, there would be total chaos, right? But everything's still being held down by these institutions. So it's like they're not there, they're just starting to get hit with it, I think. And that's what we're going to be coming into. And that's why I think it's so important for different tools to be accessible to people for this next year and two.
And in terms of transits, take it to the art and science of astrology. Pluto has been traversing its transit in Capricorn for quite some time. When Pluto goes into Aquarius, May of 2023, no one on the face of the earth is going to be able to escape the blackening. Okay? So it's best to, again, take the opportunity, become initiated, learn about these things so that when it does come to that point, you're going to be able to navigate it. The reason why people are in chaos, confusion, disarray, dismemberment, is because they don't know how to navigate consciousness. That's the key. Dare I say, there's no such thing as a mental disorder. You just don't know how to navigate consciousness. Let alone energy, frequency, vibration, sound, right? And all of these things that are being implemented to manipulate an individual and keep them trapped in the fucking shadowlands. The true blackening phase reveals itself when you realize that you've been clinging onto Loki's boat. You've been clinging onto that assumed identity that is no longer you. Okay, you're going to lose your job. You're going to lose your fucking work because you're not going to take the needlecraft. Okay, good. Something better is coming. How about we co-sign that idea instead of co-signing the fucking narrative that we're completely fucked because these assholes fucking rule everything? They don't. They don't rule your spirit. They don't rule your soul. They don't rule your existence. And so taking the blackening, you're forced to face all of that stuff. So you're getting the idea that a lot of people are coming to that. I agree as well. But when Pluto hits in 2023, there's going to be no escape through. And then you come out the other side, right? You come out the other side with a major holy fuck moment where it just hits you, right? And then you see deeper and further than you ever fucking did. And you look at how fucking unbelievably insane and petty everything that you were dealing with was. Right?
Yeah.
But that has to be experienced. You know, like people really going through that fucking dark night of the soul shit. You wouldn't want to necessarily say that to someone. Oh, it's going to be better. Just keep going. No, you don't want to even fucking be there. I don't even want to fucking go. I didn't want to go through what I did. Who the fuck does? You're forced to face your fucking demons and your fears and the fucking archons and the fucking all that in terms of the blackening, right?
Yeah, it's very, very, very powerful when you go through that.
There's preliminary protocol that needs to be applied before you do that, because it's very fucking dangerous otherwise. When it comes up in awakened consciousness, right, you're not able to navigate that shit. So you go through that process of initiation, taking the time, doing the protocol teaching, learning about cosmic law, and mastering the science of the circle. Okay, the way it works in terms of templating. Okay, I'm going to go like this. I'm looking at the camera, right? You take to the core of who you are right here, okay? There's what's known as the upper triangle, like this, and it goes right to the center of your heart. And then the lower triangle goes like this, like a triangle going down. You want to pull up from the lower triangle clockwise into the heart center within the fulcrum, and then from the upper triangle like this, you want to pull down counterclockwise. Talking about priming yourself before you ignite and throw the cone of power, like I fucking talk about.
Got it. Yeah.
You throw the cone of power from within the core.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And this could attribute Nikung. I'm a Nikung practitioner. I'm level 1 Nikung practitioner. And so moving energy with mind itself, this is the grandfather of Qigong. This is the grandfather of Reiki and all these different things we do in terms of healing. So energy work, you know, within the circle is also very important. But you see yourself within the fulcrum, and then from there, you're throwing the energy in the fact you're pulling it, you're priming it. You pull it down, you pull it up to prime, right? And then from there, you get the energy to a certain point, and then you throw the cone of power within the fucking circle of magician. Okay. This is how I work it personally. Okay. Mm-hmm. And you can get pulse rates going within the center of your core, where it literally bursts, and you feel it shooting through your fucking system like fire. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All throughout your nervous system, just boom, right? And the radar is now pulled into alignment, like I was talking about with how thought and emotion operates. So you're pulling up, and then you're priming, and then you throw it, and then you see yourself within the sphere of the circle of the fulcrum. Okay.
Yeah.
And then from there, you're working with archetypal consciousness. You can do a lot of different things, you know. From that point, in terms of connection to your core essence, right fucking there, nothing can fuck with you. Mm-hmm. You are in the knowing, and you are in connection with the higher force. And if you do it correctly, you will experience what I'm talking about. And I think you have. I think you have to a certain point. But the more time you take within the fulcrum, the more is going to be implemented in terms of potential activations and codex and records also being revealed to you. Okay. People talk about the books and the records, like I was speaking about a mente earlier. And then from there, you're doing research and study in terms of what's being revealed to you from within yourself. And then you're prompted, or you get a synchronicity, or something happens, right? Or somebody says something. Mm-hmm. And then it sparks something, right? So mm-hmm. It's the spark of ignition. It's the fucking power that's there within your core. This is the gold of consciousness. This is what they do not want you to fucking access. And it's there within everything.
And there's a lot of other things that we can get into, but I think there's a lot of material that you brought forth. And so I appreciate you coming on and sharing.
We've been talking for a while.
We've been talking for a while, and thank you for bringing your knowledge and wisdom forward. And if anyone wants to get a hold of you, I'll provide the information on the YouTube and on the link. And I don't know if there's any last words that you want to.
Check the description, everybody. Okay.
Sounds good.
Jessica, thank you for having me on. It was great. I really appreciate your efforts.
Same here. Thank you so much.